What's up, boys and girls and everyone else? This is another science video episode right here, and for this episode we will going to talk about an organ system opposite of the male reproductive system, and it is very important in the continuity of life. Come join me as we discover how this organ system works and other things related to the female reproductive system. Alright, so we have our topic for this video lesson, and still we are in the reproduction in humans, but we will not going to discuss anymore the male reproductive system. So if you don't have any idea about what is the male reproductive system all about, it is on the link above. So you can click that link and watch that video lesson, and you will learn more about what is the male reproductive system, the parts and function of that organ system. So we have right here the female reproductive system. We will going to talk about its parts and function as well as other things related to it. Alright, so but before we go to that, let's take a look at some things which is related to the female reproductive system. So we have right here still the roulette, okay, that we used in the male reproductive system. And in the male reproductive system, what we did there is we placed a lot of bets. Okay, we placed a lot of bets in this board. Alright, so we place it right here, we place it right there, and we place it over this color, and we place it over this second dozen as well as here. And we have it right here, also here. Like there, okay, so over here, okay, and so on and then so forth. All right, so in this particular situation, we agreed that placing a lot of bets in these numbers or in a lot of places in this board will give us higher winning rate. Okay, will give us higher winning rate. So that is the advantage of this one. It has the highest winning rate. Okay, so it has the highest winning rate, and what we have right here is we placed a lot of bets in different numbers or different places on this board. Alright, so what is the disadvantage of this? The disadvantage is the price or the winning price for this scenario that we have right here is very minimal. Alright, it's very minimal, the winning price. So, what we will going to do in this or in another scenario, the opposite scenario that we were going to do right here is we will going to place all of our bets in one number. Okay? So, we will place all of our bets in one number. For example, I have right here the 100, and I will place it right here on 17, all of our bets. Alright, so unfortunately, this the game is only allowing $500 as the maximum amount of bet. Alright, so let's hope that this number will appear as a winning number. Alright, so let's spin. So what do you think is the disadvantage of this? Do you think there's an advantage on this one? Alright, so the winning number is 23, color red. So as you can see, the number that we have right here is somehow didn't make it as a winning number. Okay, so what do you think is the disadvantage of this one? Okay, what do you think is the advantage? Okay, let's try another one. What if we place our bets in this side of the board that we have right here? So we have here the first dozen, second, third, and so on and so forth. So okay, as we all know, okay, if you know already the mechanics of this game, as we all know that this side has a greater chances of winning compared to straight up. Okay, so now if we try to place a bet over here, so for example, let's try to place a bet on that color red. Okay, hoping that the red color will be the winning color for this game that we have. Alright, so let's try to spin it one more time. Okay. So what we have right here is the highest winning rate. Okay, so as you can see, it is not the winning color, it is the black which is the winning color. Alright, so overall we didn't win anything, so that is the disadvantage. Alright, so that is the disadvantage of this scenario that we have right here. If you place all of your bets in one number, the chances of winning is very slim. Alright, so the chances of winning is very slim, and also it costs a lot of money. Alright, so it costs a lot of money, and there's a higher risk of losing. There's a higher risk of losing all of your money in this kind of scenario that we have. Okay, also, if there's a disadvantage, there is also an advantage of doing so. The advantage is, if we are lucky enough to win this roulette that we have right here, we have a possibility, or we can get the highest possible price that we have. So if you recall, the number that you have right here, if you going to play the straight up, the number or the price that you have right here is times 35 of your bet. So if you place 500, then you get the winning number. Okay, if you get the winning number, and it will be multiplied to 35. So 500 times 35 is greater than on all of the places that you have right here. So 5 times 35, so that is a higher price. Okay, so that's the advantage of that scenario. Okay, so if you will going to connect this one on our lesson, in this video lesson that we have right here, so what is the connection in the first place? Okay, now as we all know that the sperms are produced in numbers. Okay, for so many reasons. The first reason is for survival. Okay, the first reason is for survival, and that's the reason why the sperm cells are produced in a lot of numbers. Okay, so what we have right here is somehow connected to what the egg cell in the female reproductive system is all about. Okay, so what are the bets? Okay, what are all the bets that we place on one number? The number that we have right here, for example, we chose 13. This number is the egg cell. Alright? This number that we have right here is the egg cell. Now, the bets that we will put on that number, are all the things needed by the egg cell in order to survive. Okay? Are all the bets, or these are the bets or the things that the egg cell needs in order for it to survive for a longer period of time. Okay, so what is the price? What is the price? What is the connection of the price in our egg cell that we have right here in the female reproductive system? The price is the survivability. Okay, the price is the ability of the egg cell to survive for a longer period of time. Okay, so that is the connection that we have right here on our board. Okay, although what we did has a higher risk and lower chance of winning, but still, if we were going to look at the price itself, all right, it is the price is high. Okay, the price is high, but the risk is higher. Okay, so that is what the scenario that you have right here is connected to the female reproductive system. Again, survivability is the price. Okay, the bets are the things needed by the egg cell in order to survive longer, and the number itself in which you place all of your bets is the egg cell itself. Okay, so with that, that is the roulette, and we can now move on to the things that we have right here in the female reproductive system. Okay, so now, as a recall, so what are the gametes formed in animals? So as we all know, that the gametes formed in animals are the sperm and egg cell, respectively. Now, how do gametes differ from normal body cell? Again, if you want to answer this question, you can pause the video if you want. Okay, if you want to. Alright, so how do gametes differ from normal body cell? So the difference between the two is the gametes contain haploid number of chromosome, while the normal body cells contain diploid number of chromosome. Okay, so if we are talking about humans, the body cells contains 46 number of chromosome, and the gametes contains the half of that number, 23. Alright, the third question here is, why should gametes have haploid number of chromosome? What do you think? Now, if you have an answer, just put it in the comment section below this video. Alright, you can pause this video, okay, while you are thinking for the answer to this question. So, why should gametes have haploid number of chromosome? Number one is to maintain the number of the chromosome that is allotted to that particular organism. So if you have a human body, if a human body has a 46 number of chromosome, it should stay that way. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, so that is the reason why that the gametes always have a haploid number of chromosome. The second reason is during fertilization, these two haploids will meet all together. These two haploids will meet together to form one complete number of chromosome, and that will be the zygote, and that zygote will become a new organism that contains the complete set of chromosome. So it is very important that the gametes should have a haploid number of chromosome in order to maintain the total number of chromosome in an organism, the correct total number, all right, the normal total number of chromosome in an organism. So with that, right, so these are the things that we were going to talk about in the female reproductive system. So we know already the basics about the sexual reproduction. So let's talk about the last organ system that we have right here, the female reproductive system. So we have the parts and the function, we have the female gamete and the egg production, we have the feedback loop and the hormonal secretions that is needed in order to produce an egg, all right, and the diseases, female birth control methods that are available right now. Okay, so without further ado, let's start first with the parts and function. Alright, so we have the parts and function, and let's try to find out what are the parts and function of this the female reproductive system. So alright, so just like the male reproductive system, if you watch my video lesson about the male reproductive system, you will see that the parts there are some parts there that are located outside the body. Alright, so in the female reproductive system, there are also parts that are located outside the body. We call these parts as the external genitalia. Alright, so the external genitalia are the organs that are included, or the organs that are included here are the mons pubis, the labia majora, then we have the labia minora, we have the Bartholin glands, and also we have the clitoris. Alright, so the clitoris, fun fact everyone, clitoris is the opposite. Okay, opposite of the penis in the female reproductive system. So if the penis is an erectile organ in the male reproductive system, the clitoris is the counterpart. All right, it is the counterpart of the penis. Okay, so if you undergo sex change operation, okay, if you undergo sex change operation from girl to boy, all right, so male to female. Alright, so female to male sex operation or sex change operation, the clitoris is the main organ that they should look forward, okay, in changing your sex organs. Okay, so the area in which these organs are found, okay, the area in which these organs are found is called vulva. Okay, that is called vulva. So that is the part. And what is the purpose of this external genitalia? What is the purpose? There are three things. Number one, it enables the sperm to enter the body. Okay, it enables the sperm to enter the body. And the second one is it protects, okay, the internal organs like the cervix, the vagina, the uterus from infectious organism like bacteria, fungus, alright, and other stuffs. Alright, and the third one is it provides sexual pleasure. Just like what I've said earlier, the clitoris is the one that is used for sexual pleasure in female. Right? So that is the counterpart, okay, of the penis and the female reproductive or system. Okay, so these are the external genitalia and its overall function. Okay, now this is what it looks like. Okay, if you look in an actual, so this is what it looks like. So the clitoris is located on top. Okay, and what is right here is the urethral opening. So as you can see here, the vagina and then the urethral opening is completely separated from each other. Unlike in the male reproductive system, it is the pathway of the urine and then the sperm is connected as one. Okay, but here in the female reproductive system, the urine has separate pathways compared to the compared to where the baby will come out. Okay, and also during sexual intercourse, it is completely in a different pathway. All right, so this vagina that you have right here is covered by two lips that you have right here. So we have the labium minora and we have here the labium majora. So it covers the vagina. So for protection purposes. Okay, in actual it looks like this. Okay, you might wonder why why there are some different types of different shapes of vagina. All right, so that we have right here. So this is just one shape. Okay, not all people in this not all female in this planet has a similar shape that you have right here. Again, this is the clitoris over here. So we have here the labia minora over there. So over here is the labia majora. All right, so that is the urethra that you have. Okay, so over here. Okay, so this is the vaginal opening. Okay, right here. So in this case, as I've said earlier, not all vagina has similar shape. Okay, some of them are different in shape. Okay, depending on what type of body that you have. Okay, so as you can see here on this picture, we have several shapes of vagina. Okay, so does these shapes a big deal? No. Okay, so it doesn't have any big deal at all. So it's still, even though you have a different shape from another vagina, it still have the same function. Okay, it still have the same function, just like what we have talked earlier. Okay, what we have earlier on this presentation. All right, so let's go now to the overall look of the internal organs of the female reproductive system. So as you can see right here on this picture, right here, we can see that the female reproductive system is different from the male reproductive system. So the male reproductive system is made up of a lot of tubes. These are tubes that are connected to another tube. Okay? Meanwhile, the female reproductive system, as you can see right here, it is made up of pouches and canals that you have right here. It is made up of canals and pouches. And these pouches serves for one purpose, and that is during pregnancy. Okay? That is during pregnancy. It is to house the developing fetus in general during its 9 months. In humans, in other animals, it has different gestation period. All right? So it houses the developing fetus in these pouches that you have right here. So to be exact, the female reproductive system is made up of a lot of spaces just for that purpose. Okay? So instead of having tubes, we have canals, we have pouches, and pouches with spaces inside. Okay, so that is the characteristic of the female reproductive system that we have right here. So in order to start our discussion that we have right here, we will start with a very important organ in the female reproductive system, and that is none other than the ovary. Okay, so the ovary is is the most important organ in the female reproductive system. But the thing here is, if you are wondering what will happen to you if you remove your ovary, if something like a disease that your ovary caught with, hey, so the ovary will not affect. Okay, you will still be able to live. Okay, even though you don't have any more ovary at all. Okay, so as I've said last time, as I've said on the previous video lesson, that the reproductive system doesn't care whether you are alive or not. Okay, its function is to continuity of life. Okay, so if you remove your reproductive system, especially we have right here the ovary, you will just be affected by one thing: you will not reproduce. Okay, you will not reproduce, but removing the ovary doesn't pose any harm on your body. Okay, so the first thing that we need to take note about the ovary is that it produces the female gamete. Alright, so it produces the female gamete called the egg cell. Okay, and the ovaries produces two hormones. Okay, so if you don't know about the endocrine gland, if you don't know about the endocrine system, so the link about the endocrine system will be appearing above this video. So if you want to have an idea what is an endocrine system all about, just click that link above. Okay, so what are the two hormones that is secreted by the ovary? So there are two hormones. So we have the estrogen and we have the progesterone. Now the estrogen is produced by the follicles in the ovary, right? Now it triggers the production of egg. Okay, the progesterone, all right, is produced by one organ in the ovary. We will talk about that one later, and that is used during pregnancy. That hormone is used during pregnancy, and that is the progesterone. Okay, so the progesterone. So it is included in my endocrine system video lesson. So you may want to find it or watch it out. Okay, so for you to have an idea what it is. All right, so if you do a laparoscopy, so what is a laparoscopy? Laparoscopy is a less invasive operation or surgery in which the doctor will cut a small incision on your abdomen and insert the camera on that small incision. Now, with this particular technique, okay, with this particular technique, you don't need to open the body just to see what is inside. All you need to do is to cut one incision, small incision on the abdomen, then that's it. You will be able to see what is inside the body. Alright, so as you can see here, you will see the left and right ovary. Alright, so we have two ovary, the left and the right. So we are a bilaterally symmetrical organism. That is why there are two sets of ovary. Okay, there are two sets of ovary that we have right here. Okay, so we have here the uterus on this view. So the view here is showing also the small intestine. Okay, small intestines and other organs found in that area. Okay. Now, if you want the complete version of the female reproductive system, then here it is, the complete version. Okay, so what we have right here is the ovary, and attached to it is the fallopian tube. Okay, and on the fallopian tube, it is connected to the uterus. Okay, it is connected to the uterus, and inferior of the uterus is the cervix, and below that cervix is the vagina, where it collects the sperm during the sexual intercourse and so on and so forth. Okay, so there are two ovaries and two fallopian tubes on both sides. Okay, so okay, another view of the ovary and the fallopian tube in this case. Okay, all right, so about the thing that I've said earlier. So there is a part in the ovary that comes out every month, and sometimes it stays there for 9 months depending on the situation. All right, so what makes it stays for 9 months? It's because if the female is pregnant, this part, which is called the corpus luteum, will stay on the ovary for 9 months, and it will secrete the progesterone necessary for pregnancy. This is the progesterone. All right, so that is the progesterone that is needed for during pregnancy. Okay, that is needed during pregnancy, because if the progesterone were not secreted, okay, at a very important time, the thing here is miscarriage will likely to occur. Alright, miscarriage will likely to occur because the progesterone is the one that maintains the thickness of the uterine lining. Okay, so that will be that lesson will be talked about on our next lesson, the menstrual cycle. Okay, so just watch out for that video lesson. Okay, so that is the corpus luteum. It is a temporary organ. Alright, so it is a temporary part of the ovary. Okay, so it appears only once every month during menstrual cycle. If there is no fertilization, it ends up there. And if there is a fertilization, it will stay there for 9 months. Okay, just to secrete this very important hormone called progesterone. Alright, so if we're going to take a look at the ovary in this diagram, you will see that the ovary is just another organ. It requires blood vessels, or it requires nutrients, so that is why blood vessels are attached. Alright, blood vessels are attached on this organ that we have over here. And also, it has nerve endings. Okay, it has a lot of nerve endings. So, we'll start right here. So, the process starts over here and ends here. Okay, so it ends up here. Okay, so it starts first with the primordial follicle. So, these follicles that you have right here are the ones that secretes the estrogen. Okay, once the estrogen is being secreted, it will trigger the formation or the maturation or development of the follicle that you have. Okay, to become an egg cell or ovum. Alright, so as it develops, so the egg cell also develops on it. Okay, so in this case, we have here the secondary oocyte. Okay, and it will undergo the process of what they call ovulation. Okay, so ovulation is the process of releasing the egg from the ovary down to the fallopian tube. Okay, now the follicle in which the egg stays, okay, for the meantime, it will become a corpus luteum. Okay, so it will become a corpus luteum, and this corpus luteum, as we talked about earlier, it produces the progesterone necessary during childbirth, alright, or pregnancy. Okay, so that is the overall look of the ovary that we have right here. Okay, now this is the actual view of the ovary in the microscope. So as you can see here, these are the follicles, and on that follicle, it contains the egg cell. All right, it contains the egg cell, which later on it will undergo ovulation. Okay. Next is the look of the ovary under the ultrasound. Okay. So if you don't want to do laparoscopy process, you can do ultrasound in order to check what is happening on your ovary. Okay, so this is an ultrasound. Alright, just like any other organ, the ovary is prone to certain diseases. Okay, so what we have right here is ovary with cyst. Okay, so there are some agents, or there are some reasons why we have like the one that you have right here, the cyst in the ovary. Okay, so number one is it is likely hereditary. Okay, number two is the diet. Okay, so it affects, okay, what you eat, it affects somehow the ovary. All right, especially if you are eating carcinogenic foods. Okay, and the third one is the environment. If you are exposed with radiation all the time or chemicals, the ovary will likely to develop an abnormality in the growth of its cell. Okay, so that is why we have it right here. Now, the cyst that you have right here can lead to tumors or cancers. Okay, so it can lead to tumor or cancers. Okay, so early prevention or early detection is required here. Now, if you felt that you have something wrong with your ovary, you go directly to your OB/GYN to check out, or to your doctor to check out if there is something wrong with your ovary. As much as possible, early detection is needed here in order to prevent this kind of scenario. Alright, so not only the ovaries with cyst that can lead to ovarian cancer, also we have here the polycystic ovary. Okay, what is a polycystic ovary? This is a scenario in which the ovary develops multiple cysts inside the ovary. So as you can see here, it develops some multiple cysts and it has a profound effect on the development of the female's body. So number one, the secretion of estrogen will become lesser, and there will be some secretions of testosterone that might happen, okay, in the process. So a person with polycystic ovary, like the one that you have right here, might likely to have a problem in fertility. Okay, there will be infertility problems that might be encountered. So just like the ovarian with cyst, early detection and prevention is required. Okay, now if you think that you show a symptoms of polycystic ovaries, like gaining weight without any reason. Okay, so gaining weight without any reason. And number 2 is acne or oily skin, something like that. So persistent acne or oily skin can be symptoms of polycystic ovary. Now, if you have those symptoms, you can go directly to your OB/GYN or doctor to check out if there's something wrong with your ovary. So early detection is needed here. Alright, so that is for the ovary. So cool. Alright, so the next one is the oviduct. Okay, oviduct or the fallopian tube. Okay, so the oviduct or the fallopian tube is the site where the egg from the ovaries is being released, and it will stay there until it is fertilized. So how long it will stay there? It will stay around more or less 7 days. Okay, it will stay there for more or less 7 days until it is fertilized. Now, what if it is not fertilized? It will be disintegrated there. Okay, it will be disintegrated on the fallopian tube immediately. Alright, so that is the fallopian tube. And in the fallopian tube, there are a lot of parts that we have. So we have the fingers of your fallopian tube called fimbriae, which catches the egg after it is ovulated in the ovary. So we have here the infundibulum. Alright, so this tube right here. So the tube is continued, which is called the ampulla. We have here the isthmus. We have here the interstitium. Okay, these are the things that are the parts of your fallopian tube. But they have one function. This is the site of the fertilization. Okay. So this is what the fallopian tube looks like. Okay, inside. So this is where the egg stays for 7 days, waiting for fertilization. Now, just like any other organ, the fallopian tube is also subjected to certain diseases or certain illness. Okay, so one of which is the ectopic pregnancy. Okay, so the ectopic pregnancy is somehow a not normal type of pregnancy in which normal pregnancy occurs in the uterus. Okay, so it occurs in the uterus, while in the ectopic pregnancy, it occurs on the fallopian tube. Now, if you will going to tell me which of this is dangerous, it's the ectopic pregnancy, because the ectopic pregnancy, the walls that the zygote is going to attach in this type of pregnancy, the walls here doesn't have any kind of support system. It has a less support system compared to the uterus, the one that you have right here. So this uterus that you have right here has a complete support system for the developing fetus that you have right here. So most of the ectopic pregnancy, most of the offspring that is born in an ectopic pregnancy is premature. Okay, is premature. So that is the problem there. Okay, so the other one is blue baby. Okay, blue baby. This is the case where the baby is being strangled inside the mother's womb by the fallopian tube. Okay, so the baby is being strangled, or the neck of the baby is being squeezed by the fallopian tube, and the baby doesn't receive the right amount of oxygen. That is why they are born blue. Alright, so that is why they are born blue, which is also known as the blue baby. Alright, so that is the fallopian tube. Alright, so we have right here the next part, which is called the uterus. Okay, so the uterus is where the place, or it is the place where the unborn baby develops during pregnancy. Alright, so this is the place where the baby develops during pregnancy, and the lining of the uterus is called the endometrium. Okay, so uterus is very important, okay, in development of the fetus inside the mother's body. Okay. Alright, so this is the thing that you should take note of, the parts of the uterus. So as you can see, the uterus is very, it contains a lot of spaces. Okay, it contains a greater space compared to the other organs in the female reproductive system. Now, for what purpose? That is for one reason. And that reason is for pregnancy. Okay, the reason is pregnancy. Okay, so in this case, the zygote can attach to the left or right side of the uterus, and also it can attach here. Okay, it depends. Okay, and there are times that the multiple births occur. Okay, multiple births occur. So like production of the identical twins or the fraternal twins. So if the mother has multiple zygote or multiple fetus inside her body, so what will happen here, it will attach right here and it will attach over there. So we have your identical twins, or if you have triplets, or we have quintuplets, something like that. So things like this will be this is what it looks like if you have a multiple fetus inside the uterus. Okay, so that is a very that occurs in a very rare situation. Okay, very rare occurrences. Okay, but most of the time, human body can accommodate just one offspring. Okay, so let's take a look at the other part. So we have here the endometrium, and furthermore we have the myometrium. So during the menstrual cycle, the endometrium is the one that increases its thickness. Okay, the endometrium is the one that increases in thickness. Okay, and if there's a fertilization that happens, it catches the developing zygote and embeds that developing zygote into that endometrium. The endometrium is complete with life support system like blood vessels and other stuff in order for the developing zygote to develop properly. Okay, so we have right here a blood vessels that is present on your endometrium. Okay, so now if you are a female, you are familiar with some things that goes out of your body during your menstrual period. So the jelly-like substance, okay, the chunky substance or the jelly-like substance that goes out of your body during your menstrual period is the part of the uterine lining called the endometrium. All right, which is shedded off during that process because there is no fertilization that happened on that on the release of the egg. All right, so there is no fertilization. So if there's no fertilization, the thickness of the endometrium will not maintain for a longer period of time, so it will be shed off. So that is why it is made up of blood. Okay, the menstrual discharge is made up of blood and the parts of the endometrium or the uterine lining. Okay, so those are the menstrual discharge. Okay, so now the uterus of different animals differs from one animal to another depending on how many offspring it can produce. So in the case of the rodents and some carnivores, okay, in which they produce a lot of offspring, so the rodents have different shape of uterus compared to primates and ruminants like elephants, camel, cow, sheep, goats, Okay, so those are some ruminants and even pigs. Alright, so even pigs. So these are some ruminants and these are the shapes of their uterus. Okay, the shape of the uterus tells us how many offspring this particular organism can produce. So the primates is somehow like the chimpanzees, it is somehow have a similar shapes. Okay, so but not completely similar. Okay, not completely similar, but the impression is somehow similar all throughout the primate group. Okay, so these are the different shapes of the uterus depending on what group of organism they belong. Okay, the uterus has the ability to extend its size depending on the size of the offspring that is in there. Okay, so as you can see here, if you happen to see the previous picture of the uterus, it is very small. But once there is a developing fetus that is present inside that uterus, it will become like this. Okay, it will become like this. So it has the ability to extend or increase its size. Okay, so all right, so that is for the uterus. Okay, so next up is the cervix. The cervix is a smooth muscle. Okay, and this allows the passage of number 1, sperm cell, and number 2 is fetus during childbirth. Okay, so that's the purpose of the cervix. And also it protects, the cervix also protects what is inside, or what are the internal, it protects the internal organs of the female reproductive system. Okay, so this is the cervix. Now if you look at it on the bottom view, okay, in the bottom view of this picture, you can see that the cervix looks like this. Okay, so this is the hole where the sperm cell can go through, and also the fetus goes out. Okay, during childbirth. Okay, this is the cervix. This is what the cervix looks like. This is the opening that you have right here. The cervix is made up of smooth muscles. Okay, so capable of doing some sort of peristaltic movements. Okay, as I've mentioned earlier, that the cervix is the one, or the passageway of the fetus. So how is it possible? So with the action of the following, with the action of this hormone called oxytocin, which is very important during childbirth. Now with the action of this hormone, it will increase the size of the cervix. It will dilate it. Okay, it will dilate the cervix to accommodate the passage of the fetus out of the female's body. Okay, so with the action of oxytocin. Okay, this is the pap smear. Alright, so this is one of the process, or one of the procedure if you want to detect if there is something wrong, or there is something unusual with your cervix. Okay, in the pap smear test, there is a brush. There is a brush that is connected to some sort of an equipment here, and this brush will collect some samples of the cells found in your cervix. Now those cells will be analyzed, okay, in the laboratory, and it will tell if the patient has a cervical cancer or not. Okay, so that is the pap smear is one. Okay, pap smear is one of the process that is very important in detecting the presence of a cancer in the cervix. Okay. Now, if you are curious enough of what is a cervical cancer looks like, cervical cancer is caused by a human papilloma virus. Okay, that is a virus which is sexually transmitted. Okay, that is a virus which is sexually transmitted, and they are the causative agent of these are the causative agent of genital warts and the cervical cancer. Okay, so early detection is needed here. Early detection is needed here. One of the symptoms one of the symptoms of cervical cancer is vaginal bleeding. Okay? Now, if you have a vaginal bleeding that doesn't correspond to your menstrual period, right? So, if you have a vaginal bleeding that is unusual, so you might want to go to your OB/GYN or doctor to test out if you have a problem on your cervix. Okay? So, as early as possible, you detect, okay, you will be able to detect if there is something wrong with the cervix before it became a full-blown cervical cancer. But nowadays, there are some ways to prevent that one. There are some vaccine. Okay, there are vaccines already for the prevention of the cervical cancer. Okay, so you might want to get some vaccine for that one in order for you to be protected with this kind of disease that you have right here. Okay, the last organ that we have right here is the vagina. Okay, so vagina is the organ which is very important. Why? It's because it is the one that receives the penis during sexual intercourse. And this is also where the sperm or the semen is deposited during that said process. Okay, that is the thing here. Okay, now once the sperm is being deposited, so the sperm will enter the cervix and goes to the uterus and goes to the fallopian tube and then fertilize the egg. Okay, so the entrance to that to the part of the female reproductive system, to all parts of the female reproductive system, starts with the vagina. Okay, so as you can see here, okay, this is what the sexual intercourse is all about. So the penis will be inserted to the vagina, and as we talked about in the male reproductive system, the penis should be erect in order for the penis to be, or in order for the semen to be deposited properly inside the female's reproductive system, especially in the vagina. Now, during sexual intercourse, there are some painful sensation that you might experience, and that painful sensation is what they call the superficial dyspareunia. All right, so if I don't know if I pronounce it correctly. So this is the pain concentration, okay, around the entrance of the vagina during sexual intercourse. Okay, so that is the thing here. Now the vagina, before the penis enters, it contains a film called very thin film called hymen. All right, so it is somewhere located here. Right, it is somewhere located here, that film. Okay, that film protects the vagina from foreign objects, okay, like bacteria, fungi, and so on and so forth. All right, so that is the vagina, okay, and its function. Okay, just like the male reproductive system, there are some accessory organs that we have right here. Okay, in the female, we called it the mammary glands. Okay, although it is not directly associated with reproduction, but mammary glands is very important, especially in the nourishment of the developing baby. Okay, so the mammary gland is made up of fats. Alright, it is made up of fats, and it has a lot of glands. So these lobes that you have right here, the lobes that you have right here contains the mammary glands, and these mammary glands, with the action of the pituitary hormones called prolactin, it will trigger these lobes of mammary gland to produce their secretions, especially the important secretion called milk. Alright, so the mammary glands, yeah. Alright, so mammary glands are very important in the development or the nourishment of the baby. Alright, so before we move on to the next part of our lesson, so let's have a short checkpoint. Okay, so the first one, what part of the female reproductive system that secretes hormones that is responsible for fertility and female secondary characteristics? So you can pause the video to answer this question. These are the choices. Okay, so what do you think is that part? Okay. Alright, so for that, the answer for this question is, okay, very good. So we have the ovary. Alright, so if you got the correct answer, just okay, write it down in the comment section below this video. Okay, so the next question. Okay, for this part of the lesson that we have right here, we have two questions here. So we have the endometrium is an important part that is needed during pregnancy and sheds off during menstrual period. What part in the female reproductive system where we can find the endometrium? So again, you can pause this video and to find out which of these choices is the correct answer for this question. Alright, so for this question, the correct answer is, alright, the uterus. Did you get it right? Okay, so write it down in the comment section below if you got the right answer. Alright, so with that, these are the parts and function of the female reproductive system. Up next is the female gametes and egg production. What is a female gamete? What are the parts of a female gamete? Okay, just like the sperm cell. So what are the parts? And the next one is the feedback loop. So what are the things needed in order to produce an egg cell? What are the hormones needed in order to produce an egg cell? Which is very important. Okay? Which is very important in studying the female reproductive system. So let's try to find it out. Okay? Alright, so we are here on the next part of our lesson. This is the female gamete and the egg cell, or which is the egg cell. Alright, rather than that. Okay, so what are the parts that we can, or what are the things that we can find on the female gametes? Okay, in this case we have the egg cell. So what are the things that we can find there, and how is it produced? That is the most important part. Okay. So this is what the egg cell looks like when it is swarmed by the group of sperms that you have right here. And during fertilization process, this is what the scenario will look like. Okay, so that is the process. Now, if you don't have any sperm cell, which is that surrounds your egg cell, if you don't have any sperm cell, it is completely just imagine that the sperm cell will disappear right here in this picture. Okay, so that is what the egg look like. Okay, now looking at it, okay, looking at the egg cell, it contains a lot of parts. Okay, that is said to be the barrier. Okay, it contains a lot of barrier, or it contains a barrier that protects it from the number one, from foreign objects like viruses and bacteria, and number two, also from the sperm cell. Okay, it is protecting itself from the sperm cell as well. All right, so the sperm cell also has a counter, or has a weapon. It also has something that can break down this barrier. It contains a chemical on its head, which is the acrosome. Okay, there's a chemical there that contains or that is present there in order to break down this barrier respectively. Now, what we have right here is the egg cell is made up of a crown, all right, so which is called the corona radiata, and on it, the next part will be the zona pellucida. All right, as you can see, there are a lot of barriers that the sperm cell needs to break down before it delivers the DNA inside that egg cell. Okay, so once it reaches the innermost part of this egg cell, there is what they call a cortical granules. So the cortical granules is the one that is needed by the sperm cell, or it is needed by the sperm cell, or the sperm cell needed to reach these cortical granules in order to break down, or to give, or to release its DNA. Okay, it is in order to release the DNA which is carried by the sperm cell itself. Okay, now once it is released, it will combine with the nucleus that you have right here, combining the haploid chromosome that they contain, and eventually it will become a zygote. Alright, so the polar body is here. Alright, so the polar body is here, is also present in this egg cell that we have right here. Also, the question here is, how is it produced? Okay, how do you produce an egg cell? Alright, as I've said earlier, that the egg cell first develops in the primary follicle. Now, during puberty stage, alright, so before the puberty stage, the follicles contains a fixed number of egg cells. The follicles that you have right here contains a fixed number of egg cells. So unlike the sperm cell are continued to be produced on the male's lifetime. Okay? So the female's egg cell is in fixed number. Okay? So once the female's body reaches, or once the age of the female reaches to a certain age where it cannot produce anymore an egg cell, due to the fact that the egg cell in the body is fixed in numbers. Okay? So that is called menopause. Okay? So it starts with the primary follicle and develops to be that primary follicle will grow with the action of the estrogen. Okay? So this follicle that you have right here will secrete this estrogen. It will secrete the estrogen, and it will allow the development of the follicle that you have right here. Okay, so every month there is one follicle. There is only one follicle that is initially will be developed in just in 1 month, and that one follicle will produce one egg. Okay, every month. So this is the secondary oocyte. Okay. Now, the secondary oocyte will be released via the process called ovulation. Okay? And this particular follicle will become corpus luteum, just what I've shown you earlier. And this corpus luteum will stay there depending on the situation. Alright, so it will stay for around 1 month, or it can stay for around 9 months. Okay, then eventually it will degenerate and the cycle continues. Okay. Now, this cycle, just to tell you something about this cycle, the cycle do not continue, or do not continue forever. Okay? This cycle stops at certain point in female's lifetime. Okay? It will stop. Okay? And also, the quality of the egg is affected by the age of the female. The quality of the egg itself. Okay, so that's the things that you should take note of in the egg production in female. Okay, now let's take a look at how the process looks like. So we call the process as oogenesis. This is the opposite of the spermatogenesis, but this is on female's reproductive system. Now, it starts first with the primordial germ cell. And the primordial germ cell will become oogonium. So it is right here. Right. So this oogonium that you have right here, if we are talking about a human body, it contains 46 chromosome. So this 46 chromosome, so the oogonium will further develop to become a primary oocyte. So the 46 will be still on the primary oocyte, and once the primary oocyte undergoes the first meiotic division, it will become a secondary oocyte and the first polar body. Okay? So it will become the first polar body. So the 46 chromosome will be divided now into 22 plus X respectively. So 22 plus X, and we have here the first polar body contains 22 plus X as well. But the first polar body is not needed, so it's in there. It will disintegrate as the process goes on. Okay, so now the first polar body will undergo the second meiotic division. Okay, so it will undergo the second meiotic division. It will produce another group of polar body, and the secondary oocyte also will undergo the secondary meiotic division, and it will now have the more developed form of an egg cell. Alright, so this is the ovum. Okay, so this is the ovum, the more much developed egg cell called ovum. So in total, we have three secondary polar bodies. Okay, second polar body in total. Alright, so coming from the first polar body, 2, then we have the second polar body. Now the question here is, what is the number of chromosome? How many chromosome does the egg cell have? So obviously it has, if this is 22, so there is no more division, there's no more separation of chromosome happening on the second meiotic division. So this will be still 22 plus X. Alright, so, or 23. Alright, plus, or the sex chromosome is the 23rd chromosome. Okay, so it will combine with the sperm and eventually complete the 46 chromosome for the human body. Alright, now, where is the development of the ovum happens? As you can see, during the ovulation, the ovary will release the secondary oocyte. So it means that the development of the ovum happens on the fallopian tube. Alright, so the development of the ovum happens on the fallopian tube. Okay, so during ovulation, it is released as secondary oocyte, but during the development, it happens on the fallopian tube. Alright, so that is how the egg is being produced here. So the question here, what is the number of chromosome in the second polar body? What is the number of chromosomes? So the second polar body contains 23 chromosomes, or 22 plus X. Alright, so 22 plus X. So the secondary polar body, but the thing here is the second polar body is not needed in reproduction, okay, or in fertilization. It is not needed. It will completely be disintegrated afterwards, okay, in the process. Okay, so this is the oogenesis, and this is how the egg is being produced in the body. Okay, so during fertilization, as I've said earlier, so all the sperm needs to do is to disintegrate the barrier, alright, that protects the egg cell. It disintegrates the barrier, and once the barrier is being disintegrated, the important cargo of the sperm cell, which is the 23 plus X or 23 plus Y, will combine to the nucleus of this egg cell. And furthermore, it will develop to become a zygote, fetus, and a newborn offspring. Alright, so that is the fertilization process. Okay. Now, what is the hormone, or what are the hormones that is related, okay, that is needed in order for the egg production to be successful? Okay, so just like the male reproductive system, there is also a feedback mechanism. There is also a feedback mechanism that is happening in this process that we have right here. Okay, and more of this will be discussed on the next video lesson that I will make, and that is the menstrual cycle. Okay, so that is the next video lesson. So you might want to watch it out. Okay, so when I uploaded that particular video. Alright, so let's talk about how the egg is being produced and what are the hormones that are needed in order for the egg to be produced successfully. Okay, so these are the hormones. We have the follicle stimulating hormone. I know you are familiar with that. And we have the luteinizing hormone. Now, the difference that we have right here is obviously it targets different organs now. Okay, so we have here the follicle stimulating hormone. From the word itself, follicle stimulating hormone, it targets the follicle. Alright, so it targets the follicle that is found in the ovary. Okay, so that is the follicle found in the ovary. Okay? So that is the follicle stimulating hormone. Then the luteinizing hormone is targeting the corpus luteum. Alright? So it targets the corpus luteum, okay, for it to maintain the structure of this temporary organ. Okay? So that's the function of the luteinizing hormone. Then the estrogen is being secreted as well, okay, afterwards. And we have the progesterone. Okay. Now, previously on the male reproductive system, we have the gonadotropin hormone. Alright? So we have the gonadotropin hormone. So the GnRH is also needed here. So I didn't include in this slide, but it is needed here. The hormone that comes from the pituitary gland. Okay? Or sorry, the hormone that comes from the hypothalamus. Okay, so okay, let me clarify that one. So it comes from the hypothalamus and targets the pituitary gland to secrete these two respectively. Okay, so the GnRH. Now let's take a look at the diagram. What it looks like. Okay, so as you can see here, there's also a feedback mechanism. Okay, now in this case that we have right here, we have a positive feedback and a negative feedback mechanism here. We all know that positive feedback amplifies, negative feedback reduces. Okay, so let's start first with the release of GnRH. Let's start with the release of the GnRH in the hypothalamus. Okay, so this is the release of the GnRH in the hypothalamus. Now, it will target the anterior pituitary gland. That is where the follicle stimulating hormone is produced. Okay, so it will target the pituitary gland, but it is different. So this one is for production and the other one is for secretion. Okay, so we will start over here. Right, so we will start here. So the first thing that will happen is the pituitary gland will start the secretion of follicle stimulating hormone. Okay, it will start the secretion of the follicle stimulating hormone, and this follicle stimulating hormone will target the developing follicles. Alright, so it will target the developing follicles. So that's the second process here. So where's the developing follicles located? It is located in the ovary. Nothing else. Alright, so it is located in the ovary. Now, once the developing follicles is being activated, it will now secrete estrogen. Alright, so it will now secrete estrogen. So once the estrogen is being secreted, it has a profound effect on the following things. Number one, we have the effects on the central nervous system. Okay, just like your testosterone, it has a profound effect on the central nervous system. Okay. So number two is the stimulation of bone and muscle growth. Okay, so development of the secondary female characteristics like widening of hips, enlargement of breast, okay, something like that, menstrual period. Alright, so those are some secondary female characteristics. Next one is the maintenance of the accessory organs. So what are those? Okay, example is the maintenance of the ovary, the uterus, alright, the fallopian tube and other stuffs. Okay, so that is one. Okay, one function of the estrogen. And the next one is stimulation of endometrial growth and secretion. Okay, so before the progesterone do its job, it's the estrogen first that do its primarily. Okay, it primers the start of the growth of the endometrium. Okay, it starts the growth of the endometrium, but it doesn't maintain the growth of the endometrium. It is done by the progesterone. Alright, now once all of this happens, once the estrogen is being secreted, it will target, so it will go to the pituitary gland and tells the pituitary gland to secrete the anterior, or so secrete the luteinizing hormone. It will tell the anterior pituitary gland to secrete the luteinizing hormone. So as you can see here with this arrow, so now the luteinizing hormone will target the corpus luteum. It will target the corpus luteum, and what it does is it maintains the growth of the endometrium. Okay, I repeat, it will maintain the growth of the endometrium. Alright, so okay. Ngayon, this time, once the progesterone is being secreted, it will tell the hypothalamus, okay, it will give a negative feedback to tell the hypothalamus to minimize the secretion of the GnRH. Alright? It will minimize the secretion of the GnRH and it will trigger the menstrual cycle. Alright? Or the menstrual period. Alright? Once it does. Okay. Now, the estrogen also triggers two things. Number one is the negative feedback. Now, the estrogen cannot be present at all times. Okay? It must be regulated. So, it will secrete a negative feedback to the anterior pituitary gland to tell the pituitary gland to minimize the secretion of the follicle stimulating hormone. Alright. Now, if the estrogen is needed in the process, it will secrete or it will give a positive feedback. Okay, it will deliver a positive feedback to the hypothalamus. Okay, over here to increase the frequency of the secretion of GnRH in the case that the body needs estrogen. Okay, if the body needs estrogen. So that's the scenario here. If this particular positive feedback is being activated. Okay? So overall, these are the diagram. All you need to do here is to follow that arrow, but the arrow always, all right? So the process always starts here. Okay? So the process always starts in the production of the follicle stimulating hormone. After the release of the GnRH, the next part will be the secretion of the follicle stimulating hormone, and that triggers the secretion of the estrogen, and the estrogen will trigger the secretion of the luteinizing hormone, and the luteinizing hormone will trigger the secretion of the progesterone. And that is the overall process needed. Okay, that is the overall process needed in the ovarian cycle, number 1, ovarian cycle, and the next one is the menstrual cycle. Okay, these are the things that is happening during those two processes. Okay, so alright, so before we go to the next phase of our topic, so let's have first this checkpoint questions. Okay, what is the part of the ovary responsible for the secretion of the progesterone needed during pregnancy? These are the choices. You may want to pause the video before you select. Okay, so the answer to this question is none other than the corpus luteum. Okay, so the corpus luteum is the part responsible for the secretion of the progesterone. Okay, so next question. If the second polar bodies contains 30 units of chromosome, if the second polar body contains 30 units of chromosome, how many chromosomes does the secondary oocyte contains? Okay, so if you're going to take a look at the oogenesis that we have earlier, okay, so what will be the answer? Okay, so what will be the answer? So the answer is, alright, still 30. Why? Because secondary polar bodies or second polar bodies are located after the secondary oocyte. Okay? So the second polar bodies are located after the secondary oocyte. So if the secondary oocyte has 30, okay? If the secondary oocyte has 30, the second polar bodies also has 30. Okay? So there's no separation of chromosome that is happening during the second meiotic process. Okay? So that is the checkpoint question number 4. Did you get all two questions correct? Okay, so if so, just write something on the comment section below this video. Okay, so let's go now to the next phase of our topic. Okay, so the next phase that we have right here are the diseases. Alright, so these are the diseases associated with the female reproductive system. Just like the male reproductive system, female reproductive system is not is prone to sexually transmitted diseases. And also, there are some birth control methods that are also available in the market that prevents number one, the sexually transmitted infection, and also prevents pregnancy. Okay, so what are those? Let's discover this one in this next phase of our lesson that we have right here. Okay. All right, so we are here on the diseases that are sexually transmitted in female reproductive system. Okay, just like the male reproductive system, the infections that are transmitted during sexual contact is called sexually transmitted disease. In some cases, they are called sexually transmitted infection. And STDs can be transmitted during any type of sexual activity. Alright, so it depends on what type of sexual activity it is. Whether it be oral, anal, or the usual sexual activity. Okay, so it doesn't matter as long that there is a sexual contact, okay, between two individual. Okay, sexually transmitted infections might likely to be transmitted as well. And some STDs can be cured with the course of antibiotics, and while others are not curable in some cases. Okay, like AIDS, syphilis, those are some diseases that doesn't have any cure at all. Alright, so what are the warnings? Okay, what are the warnings or symptoms that sign of STDs in women? Alright, in female. Now, sexually transmitted infections are transmitted through vaginal, anal, or oral sexual contact. Now, the symptoms of STDs are the following. It can be vaginal itching. Alright, so there are some causes of vaginal itching. It can be sexually transmitted infection, or it can be caused by some other instances like a genital louse, alright, or pubic louse, something like that. Okay, so next one is rashes. We have unusual discharge like the pus, okay, pus, or bleeding, alright, and also pain in some areas, genital areas, okay, in the female reproductive system. So what are those? These are the symptoms. Okay, these are the symptoms that might indicate that you might have a sexually transmitted infection. Okay, so now there are some cases here that some STIs like AIDS that doesn't show any symptoms at all. Now, if left untreated, they can cause some fertility problems, and they can increase some form of a cervical cancer. Okay, this which is more prevalent during these times. Okay, so this risk are being decreased if you practice safer sex. Okay, so these particular diseases or infections will be lessened if you practice safer sex. Okay, like wearing condoms, something like that. Okay, and abstinence. Okay, things like that. Alright, next one. Every year, if we are talking about worldwide, there are 376 million new transmission like of syphilis, chlamydia, gonorrhea, and trichomoniasis. So those are infections that happens worldwide. All right, 376 million of them. And because people with vaginas do not show symptoms of the STIs, they don't know that they need a treatment on that kind of situation. Okay? So, because some of these diseases doesn't show any symptoms at all, many people take for granted of these infections. And that is why they infect more people, alright? Or they likely die on that particular disease. Okay, so in this case, early detection is required. Early detection is required in order to prevent these infections to become a full-blown disease. Alright, so what are these infections? What are these sexually transmitted disease that we have right here that is common in female reproductive system? So the first one is the human papilloma virus, or the one that causes the genital warts. Okay, so the genital warts that you have right here, again, these pictures are very sensitive, so if you want to, viewers discretion is advised. Okay, so these are the these are the effects of the human papilloma virus. So some outgrowths, so skin outgrowths that you can see here. So these are the genital warts, and these genital warts are very dangerous because it can cause another thing, cervical cancer. Okay, so this particular virus is the causative agent of this cervical cancer, which is the number one, one of the killer. Okay, one of the disease that kills women worldwide. Okay. Next one, these are the genital warts that are found in this female reproductive system, especially in the vagina. So it targets the muscles, like smooth muscles that makes up this organ that we have right here. Okay, so if it is not untreated, if this is left untreated, it can cause the cervical cancer, just like what I've said earlier. Alright, so this thing that we have right here is the gonorrhea. So see that pus. Okay, see this pus that is discharged over here. Okay, this one. So this is the pus coming from the bacteria that is causing the gonorrhea to this person. Okay, so the gonorrhea, so the pus. Right. So if you have, alright, if you encounter a discharge like the one that you have right here, so you might want to go to the doctor and seek some medical attention immediately. Alright, so the doctor will give you an antibiotics that is necessary to prevent further infection or further prevent the escalation of this disease to your body. Okay. Right, so the gonorrhea over here, so this is the infection and some rashes around the region. Okay. Okay, so the rashes around the region, which is one of the symptoms of gonorrhea. Okay. Right. Alright, so we have here the chlamydia. Okay, chlamydia is caused by the bacteria called Chlamydia trachomatis. Alright, so the chlamydia is not only situated on the genital organs. It can also reach other organs like the eyes. As you can see here, the eyes that you have right here is infected with chlamydia. And also it can reach to the oral portion of the body, which is the mouth. Okay, so this thing, the throat is infected by a chlamydia. Alright, so okay, might likely that this person went through an oral sexual activity, and maybe this person doesn't know that his or her partner has a chlamydia. Okay, so that's the thing here. Okay, so that is the chlamydia. Next one is the genital herpes. Okay, one of the disease that is incurable right now is the genital herpes. Okay, there are some drugs that prevents the infection from escalating, or prevents the infection from going to the different parts of your body. Okay, so those are only for prevention, but it doesn't cure this particular disease, especially the genital herpes. So herpes is caused by a virus called herpes simplex. Alright, so the genital herpes, as you can see here in this the external genitalia of this person contains some symptoms of genital herpes. Okay, symptoms like rashes or blistering that you see here. Alright, so that you see here. Alright, next one, another symptoms of the genital herpes. This time it's in the mouth. This one, the part of the mouth here. So it contains symptoms of blister or cold sores. We called it cold Cold sores. Okay, so these cold sores are found in the mouth. So this is one of the symptoms of genital herpes. Now, once you have the symptoms, you might want to go to your doctor to seek medical attention immediately. Alright? Alright, other sexually transmitted disease that were not shown here are the familiar AIDS, which is caused by HIV. Alright, so hepatitis, yeast infection. Yeast infection is a fungal infection. Alright, so this is a fungal infection. So it can cause vaginal itching, alright, or sometimes it can lead to bleeding, sometimes, okay. So the next one is the syphilis. Okay, syphilis is another kind of disease which is also incurable. Alright, but there are drugs that can prevent the it can prevent the escalation of that particular disease on your body, but it doesn't treat the disease. It doesn't treat the disease in order to cure it. Okay, so similar thing with the AIDS. AIDS doesn't have any cure at all. Okay, there are some drugs that decreases the infection of the virus, but it doesn't cure at all. Okay, so these are some sexually transmitted disease that are found in female. Alright, so with that, let's go now to the next part, which is the birth control methods. Okay, so the birth control methods available for female are the following. So we have the contraceptive patch, we have the vaginal ring, then we have the natural family planning, then we have here the female condoms, right? We have the male condoms, okay, so very important. And we have the injectables, and we have the intrauterine device. Now, these two that you have right here, these two that you have right here prevents the transmission of the sexually transmitted disease in a higher percentage, around 99% or 98%. Also with the family planning or abstinence. Abstinence guarantees you 100% prevention of all the sexually transmitted infection, the abstinence. Okay, so that's the advantage of this birth control method. So, in the next slides that we have right here, I will show you some birth control methods and how is it used. Okay. So, the first one is the contraceptive patch. Okay, so this patch contains hormones. Okay, it contains hormones like activated estrogen. And this estrogen diffuse. Okay, so this estrogen diffuse on the skin. Okay, it passes through the skin pores. So the skin pores that you have right here, it allows the estrogen to go through it, and it goes to the main organ that it targets, which is the ovary. Alright, so that's how this contraceptive patch work. Similarly, we have the implants. The implants, the one that you see here, this one over here, contains estrogen. Okay, contains estrogen, and most of the time it contains progesterone. Okay, it contains progesterone. It helps this particular person that we have right here in birth control. Okay, so it is one of the ways, or it is one of the process of doing birth control. Okay, so that is the implants. So once the hormones are being used already, once the hormones are being used in this process, the implants will be removed and replaced with another one. Okay, so it is constantly monitored. Okay, constantly monitored by a doctor, and the doctor is the one that is putting that implant here in the shoulder, or rather in the elbow. All right, so in the arm. Okay. Yeah. All right, so we have here the contraceptive pills. All right, so if you are wondering what is this days all about, what is the days represent here? These are the days that if you are having a regular period, so these are the days that you might want to take these pills, and this is the days also that you might use in monitoring. All right, in monitoring how many contraceptive pills you have taken. Okay? That's in that particular month or week or something like that. Okay? So when you go to the doctor will instruct you when is the start when do you start taking these pills and where do you end. All right? So you just follow the doctor's order. You just follow the doctor's order on how to take these contraceptive pills that you have right here. All right? So it contains hormones needed for successful birth control. All right? So some hormones prevent the secretion of the estrogen, something like that, and some hormones prevents the secretion of the follicle stimulating hormone, and so on and so forth. Okay? These are the effects of these contraceptive pills. Okay. Next one is the female condom. So the female condom is latex. Okay? This is latex in nature and it is inserted in the vagina during before doing the sexual intercourse. Okay, so this is the female condom. So it prevents, as you can see here, so the lining of your vagina, the lining of the vagina will be protected by this latex, or sometimes it is polyurethane. So it is protected by this particular lining in order not to exchange fluids during sexual intercourse. So that's the purpose of this. Okay. Also, the female condom prevents pregnancy because it will trap the sperm on this side. Alright, so it will trap the sperm on this side. Therefore, not getting to the, it will not get to the cervix, okay, as intended. Okay, so that's the female condom. Alright, next one, we have here the IUD. Alright, so IUD or the intrauterine device. Okay, so it stands for intrauterine device. So from the word itself, intrauterine means it is inserted inside the uterus, the one that you see there. So it is made up of some copper, some thin copper wires, and it has a plastic. All right, so it has a plastic arm there, which is used to cover the entrances to the fallopian tube. Okay, these two arms that you have right here cover the entrances to the fallopian tube so that the sperm will be trapped. Alright, so that the sperm will be trapped here. Alright, so only the doctor can put this one. Alright, so only the doctor or only a specialist like OB-GYN can put this thing inside the female's body. Okay, so that is the intrauterine device. Now, what is the percentage of preventing the pregnancy here? So it's around 99%, and the percentage of preventing the sexually transmitted infection is 0. Okay, so with the use of the intrauterine device, it doesn't guarantee you to be protected with some sexually transmitted disease. All right. The next one is the vaginal ring. Alright? So, vaginal ring is used in this picture. Okay, so if you take a look at this picture, so it is inserted in the vagina and it covers the cervix. Alright, so it covers the cervix that you have right here. And it doesn't, for what purpose? Okay, for what purpose it is? It doesn't allow the sperm to reach the uterus. Okay, so it doesn't allow, or it traps the sperm, and most of the time this vaginal ring contains a spermicide. So it contains a spermicide to kill the sperm that is present on the vagina. Okay, so one purpose is to not allow the sperm cells to get to the cervix and to the uterus. So that's the function of the vaginal ring. Now, what is the prevention or the rate, okay, in order for you not to get pregnant using the vaginal ring? So that is around 98%. And the prevention for the sexually transmitted disease is 0. So the use of the vaginal ring will not guarantee you to be prevented or not to have a sexually transmitted disease. Okay, so the use of condom is still required, okay, in order for you to have not to have that sexually transmitted disease. And lastly, we have the tubal ligation. Alright, so the tubal ligation that you have right here is the same thing as the vasectomy. So they will, the specialist will use a clip to clip down the fallopian tube. Okay, so it will clip down the fallopian tube, and once the fallopian tube is closed, no egg. Okay, once the fallopian tube is closed, no egg will come out of that fallopian tube. Okay, the egg will be trapped there on the fallopian tube, and the sperm also will not be able to get to that particular part of the egg, or it will not get to the egg cell once that fallopian tube is been clipped down. So as you can see in this picture, so these are the clips that are placed respectively on these fallopian tubes, and these clips prevents the sperm and prevents the egg to meet. Okay, it prevents the egg and sperm to meet. So what is the rate of preventing the pregnancy here? So the rate here is 100%. Okay, the rate here is 100%. This is permanent. Okay, the tubal ligation is permanent. So once you place the clips there, there's no removing. Okay, there's no way of removing it anymore there. So that is permanent. Okay, so that is the tubal ligation. And in terms of the prevention of sexually transmitted infection, that is 0. So tubal ligation doesn't guarantee you to be protected with sexually transmitted infection. Again, the use of condom is required if you want to be protected with sexually transmitted infection. All right. So with that, okay. So we are done with this phase of this lesson. Let me see if you understand all the concepts under this part of the topic that we have right here. So let's have this checkpoint quiz number 5. Okay, so what is sexually transmitted infection? What sexually transmitted infection? Sorry for the sorry for this extra is. Okay, so what sexually transmitted infection is characterized by these symptoms like increased vaginal discharge, painful urination, and vaginal bleeding during periods. Alright, or between periods rather. Alright, so we have here the choices. Okay, so you might want to pause this video if you want to have time to think for the answer. Alright, so with that, the answer to this question is, okay, so letter D, that is gonorrhea. Alright, so the symptoms of gonorrhea are the following. So increased vaginal discharge, painful urination, vaginal bleeding between periods. So these are some symptoms of gonorrhea. Alright, so that is question number 5. Right? So next, checkpoint quiz number 6. Okay, what birth control method is in a form of medication, usually contains synthetic forms of hormones, estrogen, and progestin, and it is done by ingesting it? And the outcome, it will prevent pregnancy. Alright. So let's have the choices. Okay, so if you want to think, so you can pause this video if you want to think for the answer. Okay, so with this question, the answer is none other than the contraceptive pill. Alright, so the contraceptive pill is the one which is ingested, and it contains synthetic hormones. Okay, it contains synthetic hormones that prevents pregnancy. Alright, so before we end up this video lesson that we have right here, okay, so I will leave you with a quote that comes from Samuel Butler. Alright, so if you are familiar with the question, which came first, the egg or the chicken? Okay, so probably you might answer the egg. Okay, but the answer there is the chicken. Okay, why? Because the chicken contains the materials, or it has the materials in order to make an egg. Okay, so well, I don't know what is the answer to that, but basically, if you take it scientifically, it is the chicken that came first before the egg. Alright, so well, and that ends up our topic for this video lesson. I hope you'll be able to get the value on the topic we discussed today, and if so, don't forget to like this video. If you have questions and suggestions, write them down in the comment section below this video. It will help me a lot in the algorithm for my YouTube channel, and most important, don't forget to subscribe on my channel and hit the notification bell for you to be updated with more science video lessons in the future. I'll see you next time, everyone. Stay safe and peace out.
Bakaみたい子供なのね